Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.
You're muted.
Everybody, welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend Paul Mulcahy coming to you on a Monday evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Very few of us is doing as well as my friend Paul Mulcahy as this Kansas City Chief cap. Certainly. Mom, don't y'all get tired, man? Aren't you bored yet? That is...
No, I mean, someone they're whining about the calls and they're whining about stuff, and you're so lucky. Yeah, I mean, the saying is it's better lucky than good, right? Yeah, but really, if you're lucky and good, you get to try for a three-peat, and that's what the Chiefs are doing.
Absolutely. They are lucky. They are lucky they have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. They are lucky they have Andy Reid as the coach. They're lucky to have that great fan base and home field advantage. That's all the luck that they have built, Mo. It just didn't happen upon them.
Yeah, I mean, do they get some calls sometimes? Sure. You think the Lakers got the calls or the Celtics got the calls in the 80s or the Bulls in the 90s? Yeah, of course they did. So, it's pretty special though when you can go back to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row and have a chance at a three-peat.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting though because it was a coin flip with with Buffalo, and it's going to be bigger coin flip with Philly. I think when Vegas puts the Chiefs as a 2.5 favorite. That means anybody can win.
Yeah, that should be a great Super Bowl. Both those teams are proved themselves to be the best of their respective conferences. Thanks to my Detroit Lions laying an egg a couple of weeks ago. We should be there. But I don't know the way their defense was playing. They won't have a hard time beating Philly too. They're just on a roll right now, Paul.
Well, Philly's got the whole package, right? I mean, Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks, but when they pick up Barkley as a running back, he's a stud. He just runs over people. Yeah. So they got a 1-2 punch. That's what I was really scared of Buffalo getting a lead on the Chiefs because Buffalo can run also. They have a good running game. And I was afraid once a team like that gets ahead, they just run out the clock and you're limited your possessions. So if you can, gobble up yards running and the clock's running, you just give a team, 2 possessions in a quarter for their offense. And that's something that Buffalo does. The Chiefs did a great job. And I think it's the first time I've ever seen a team disrupt the tush push. And, they disrupted it. And they figured out they did scouting. They knew that they like to go to the left side. And it wasn't unstoppable like it usually is. So they got a couple big stops. The problem is Philly's tush push is just as good as Buffalo's. And they have Saquon Barkley. So if the Chiefs come out flat and let Philly get ahead of them, and they can run the clock out like they're capable of doing, and only give Mahomes a few chances, maybe 3 or 4 chances on offense in a half, it's going to be a long game for them. So it's going to be interesting. I think the team that gets out in front in the beginning has a good chance of winning the Super Bowl.
But what I want to ask you about this goes beyond. It applies to more than football. And what I'm talking about is the winning mentality. You were part of winning franchises as a player and as a coach and scout. It seems like those teams, they don't panic. They just stick with it. They don't try to get it all back in one play or one shot or one quarter. Talk about when you have that kind of mentality, how that comes to play out in big games.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways, right? For teams, team, it's a team sport. Momentum is everything. We know that, and the mentality, uh, losing mentality spreads, and winning mentality spreads, and it feeds on itself, and also the ability to say, "Hey, we've been here before, and we've won before. Well, we just got to keep doing what we're doing." Like in basketball, when you fall behind by 20 points or whatever, and the players start looking at you like, "Oh, what do we get?" Guess what, guys? There's no 20-point play. How do you get it back? Little by little. And if you've done
Yeah,
that before, have that experience, then that just multiplies. Here's a different mentality, Ricky. So we have a losing mentality. We've lost for a long time. We can't get over the hump. We just struggle, and we always end up losing tight games at the end. So when the game
yeah,
gets tight, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and we're going, "Oh hell, here we go again." This happened a couple weeks ago. We lost the game
yeah,
because we couldn't execute. And then that
yeah,
doubt starts creeping in, and then that creeps into all your other teammates. Well, let's flip flop that. Hey, you and I we're in a tough situation in the fourth quarter. Ricky, we've been here before. We've won this before. We know what we're doing. We're going to win this game. So it's two
right,
separate mentalities that happen in a team, and you know as well as I do. Teams are like a mob mentality. Once it gets going, it's hard to stop, and people believe.
yeah,
Like you notice, there's a lot of times, Ricky, in college or mostly in college, some in NBA, but in college, you see a team that comes out in a game, and the first couple guys that get to the free throw line, they miss their free throws, and now all of a sudden, good free throw shooters on your team, they're missing free
yeah,
throws because they see free throws not going in, and that's true in all sports.
yeah, yeah. Well said. And we're gonna and Mo, we're gonna help you find your love for the game. I see your sign back there. Can you help me find my love for the game?
Where is it, Ricky?
Eh,
Where's my
eh,
love for the
eh,
game?
eh,
I
yeah,
gotta find it again. Where can I find it? I can't find it in Miami.
and there's a lot of stuff I want to get to. It was an interesting article I saw the other day that included you and some great players from the Los Angeles area. I want to make sure we get to that before we get out of here tonight, and most definitely going to get to Jimmy Butler. But Mike Jewell is checking in, and please send us your questions and comments.
Yep.
Big Mo is here to take on all questions you might have. And here's an interesting quick twist on a question, Mo, from my good friend Mike Jewell. Who in pro basketball would you compare Patrick Mahomes to?
Wow. Mike, it's a tough question. It's a good question too, by the way. I would. How about Magic Johnson? How about Magic Johnson? Magic
Whoa.
can score when he needs to score, but he's a distributor, passing it to Worthy and passing it to Kareem, and getting the guys open and making passes that nobody else in the league can do, having vision that no one else can do. But he's still talented enough to score when he has to. Um, that's a pretty good answer, I think. I
Yeah.
think that's a great
Yeah.
question. I think Magic Johnson. There's great players: Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, whatever you want to say. But Magic Johnson, you know, he was a guy just like Mahomes in the huddle. He was a guy at timeouts that would say, "Hey guys, come on, we can do this. We're gonna get some stops and we're gonna score, even though it's in Boston Garden and they're screaming it's 100 degrees out. We can do this." He's that guy, and Mahomes is that guy. You can see it, Ricky. I've thought about this for a long time. You could go into a kindergarten, right? And you could look at the kids playing and you could find out who the leader or the most popular kid is by how the other kids kind of gravitate to he or she and how they share toys, and you could see that happening.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the same thing with Mahomes, Magic Johnson, guys like that just have that thing, whatever that thing is, where okay, Ricky, I want to follow you. Okay, what do you want me to do? Yeah, I could do that. So I think that
And
certain players that have
that's
that.
such a great one. Yeah, I agree with you. High praise, Magic. That is a great comparison. And another thing, both those guys, they get all the MVPs, but first and foremost, they are about winning. Did you see the joy on Mahomes' face at he tried to spike the ball, he threw it down so hard it just slipped out of his hand. Man, he was happy because that put the team back in a good situation. It wasn't because he scored the touchdown.
Yeah, and he flubbed the ball and he fumbled it off and stuff. And
Yeah,
guess what
yeah,
his teammates did? They laughed at him. And that
yeah,
was okay. He didn't take
yeah,
that's funny. It's funny. But there's a lot of guys, a lot of athletes that their egos can't do that. And they get hurt. They're laughing at me. You can't. So that's another part of the it factor that guys like Mahomes and Magic have. And there's more guys like that, you know?
yeah. And you think those traits are developed at a young age, or do they come as a? I guess it could happen a couple of different ways. You could come here with it, like you say, you see it in kindergarten, and maybe they develop it over in junior high, and you know, uh, making plays at every level, and guys following them.
Well, I think you could develop leadership skills, relationship skills. You can do that, but that I'm talking about, I think you're born with it. I don't think you can develop that.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of players, asking them to step up and be a leader, and it can't be done. Most of the time it can't be done. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's take two equal players, right? In basketball, they're both 6'10". They both can shoot, handle the ball. They're very equal players, but one guy has an attitude of, I'm going to get whatever it takes to get done to us to win. I'm going to do it, and you want to follow or get the hell out of the way. And then you
yeah.
got the same guy that is like, okay, I'll be over here in the corner. I can shoot a three for you. Maybe you can make it, or you know, it's. I think you're born with that. And like let's take the same scenario: two 6'10" players in high school or college, right? And they both have the same skill set, but one is super aggressive, really, really attacks the rim, really, dives for the ball. He's just an aggressive player. And the other guy sits back and he's non-aggressive. He doesn't like contact. He wants to shy away a little bit. He doesn't like big moments in the game. Those are two guys with the same talent, but they have different makeups inside. And you can't go to that guy that is timid and doesn't like contact and teach them not to be timid and to like contact. You could do a little things and drills here and there. Believe me, I've tried it with. There's been bigs that why doesn't he just play harder? Why doesn't he be physical? And you try to do
Right,
drills
right,
and talk to them and show them film and but for the most part, it doesn't transfer over, and you can't make someone what they're not inside.
right.
That's psychology. That's
And when you
game.
were describing that first player, yeah, when you were describing that first player, I was thinking about Dave Calvin, 6'9", just, and this is when the NBA had legitimate 7-foot centers. All of them were big and strong and physical. And he becomes a Hall of Fame center mainly because, of course, he was a skilled player, but it was his effort and energy and his wits that carried him throughout his career.
Yeah, I agree. And there's guys like that. Now take someone with Dave Cowan, 6'9", 6'8", lefty, big strong body, but make him timid.
Yeah,
He's not the same guy.
that's the same guy. He's
So
not in the league, especially back then.
no, he's probably not in the league. So, here's an example of today's game, right? The guys out there, girls out there, if you're listening, let me hear you ask. Tell me what you think about this. I played against Charles Barkley, 6'6", long, athletic, uh, tough, played hard. Won a lot of NBA games, was in the playoffs all the time, won big games, never won the ring. I'll give you that, but he was in the games. He never shied away. He was the guy. And now let's put someone else in that place, Zion Williams, who is the same build, probably more athletic, but not as skilled, but the same size, pretty much the same qualities. Now, Zion could go out and get 40 and 15 rebounds, but not consistently, and where he's never led his team anywhere. So there's another comparison. And I don't know. Everyone says, look what Zion can do when he plays, and he can do this, and he can change the game. Yeah, but you have to do that in the long run. You have to do it consistently, and then you have to actually win games in playoff series. I don't think he has the it to do that.
Yeah, and he could. And we're going to get into the trade maybe in the next few shows here because it's getting closer and closer. But he's a guy whose name is coming up in trades. But Mo, and we'll get to more NFL. We got Super Bowls not this weekend and next weekend. So we'll take a closer look at that. But Mo, I really want to get into this situation down in Miami. The Heat have suspended Jimmy Butler for the third time this year after he walked out of practice. He's been suspended, I think, indefinitely this time. And as you say on board, he says he can't find joy and love for the game. And Mo, and we talked about this the first time he did it. He was a highly respected player for some of his exploits in the playoffs. He has ruined all that. I guess they make so much money now, he could care less about his legacy. And that's a good thing because it is ruined now.
Well, I think his reputation was playing hard, demanding demanding excellence from his teammates, all in the guise of the team. Let's do what's right for the team. Let's play tough for the team. Let's win for the team. And now he's doing the exact opposite, and he's pretty much throwing his team owner, his team GM, his team coach, his teammates all under the bus, and saying, he can't find his love for the game. I mean, I don't know. I guess look under, maybe it's under the waves in Miami on South Beach or something. Maybe you could find it there. But he's and let's face it, there's a point when, he's been stubborn before. He's demanded trades before. And, but he was good enough before to override all that negative. He was averaging 25 points, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He's not that guy anymore. He's averaging, I think, 17 points maybe, and 6 rebounds and 4 assists, and he's making $54 million. So he's not that guy anymore, and teams know that. And now you throw in his attitude of what he's doing now, and his trade value is plummeting. And Miami and Pat Riley, they want to get something good for him and appease him. Go find your love for the game somewhere else. Okay, but we need to get something back in return so we can continue our love for our game and maybe make the playoffs and make a run.
Mo, if you're in the Miami front office, what is your conversation about this guy?
You're talking about if I'm the GM and talking to the president and scouts?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
We got to get the hell out of here. And at this point, guess what? We're going to have to take less than we think we should get, because now it's beyond the point of not being happy and sitting out and doing he's walking out of a shoot around because they told him he wasn't starting.
Yeah.
He just walked out of it. So now it's past that point. And at some point, if I'm talking to Pat Riley, who's one of the best to ever do it, made some of the best trades, you know, his history in the NBA is makes way high above mine. But if I'm sitting next to him, I'm saying, Coach, you know, I know we don't want to get hoodwinked in this deal, but at this point, we have limited options. Let's do it ASAP and let him move
Right.
on, get whatever we can, draft picks, an okay player, and let's move on because actually they're playing pretty good without him anyway.
Right. Right. I think it's just. I don't think he'll ever put on another Miami Heat uniform, Mo.
No, I wouldn't have said that a
He-
few weeks ago, but I agree with you now. I think it's past the point of return. No, it's the point of no return now for him with Miami. And he pretty much said it when he was asking a press conference a week or so ago. Do you think you could find your love for the game here in Miami? And he said, I don't think so. Well, there you go. That's pretty much telling you. You know, sometimes you got to believe what people say.
But Paul, he couldn't think of a worse thing to say as a professional athlete making $50 million. That is probably the possible worst thing you could say to get anybody to kind of try to understand where you're coming from.
54 mil.
Exactly.
Don't forget that 4 mil that you and I could live for the rest of our lives on.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's
So
it's
the good news for Miami is, you know, he's going to make 57 mil, whatever he's making next year, but it's a player option. So if you trade for him, he could be a free agent next year, or he could enact his player option. It costs you a lot of money, but at the same time, if he opts to be a free agent, it could come off your salary cap, and you could go out and sign somebody else. You know, if it doesn't work out. So, in my opinion, if I'm a team, you know, that's on the brink, needs to really make an improvement, and I can get him for not much. I don't give away the farm. I don't give away all my future draft picks, but I give him a decent player, a draft pick here and there, and I can get him in the fold for the second half of this season, and then we can make a run at a championship. And then next year, guess what? If it doesn't go right this year, we can encourage him not to come back. Go be a free
right.
agent. And we get that in our salary cap. So actually, you know, it's not a hindering contract right now in my mind, as much that like what Toronto did with Kawhi. They rented him for a year and
Won a
then they won
championship.
a championship and then he signed with the Clippers. If you called them, do you think they'd say we wouldn't do that again? Hell no, they would do that in a second right now.
Right. Right. And even though you're right, he's not the player he once was, but he could help a lot of teams. He could be that third guy in Milwaukee.
Yes. I mean, I wasn't thinking that, you know, and I was like, please don't do that. But now when I re-looked at it, so you can't give up your core. You don't want to break up your unit. But if you could somehow get them to take Middleton and his salary and maybe Cogniton and his salary and bring in Jimmy Butler, you know, then you might have something on your, you know, something you could
Yeah.
work with. Because guess what? Then you'd have Lillard, Giannis, uh, uh, him, Jimmy Butler, Portis, Lopez, and then you have, you know, some guys on the bench. And now you're talking about a team that can compete. Because guess what? If you get a Jimmy Butler now who's mad at the world and get him on your side, that's a
And
good
get
Jimmy
him right.
Butler to have. He
Yeah.
could turn into Jimmy
Yeah.
Buckets again. And
Yeah.
not only can he score, but he can defend when he wants to. And he's a tough SOB on the
Yeah.
floor. That's what you need to win a 7-game NBA series.
Yeah. And there's no question about that. But at the rate he's going, nobody's going to remember that about him, Paul. They're
Yeah, I
going to
mean,
remember him just being selfish and greedy when you say you're not happy and you making $54 million a year.
yeah, but I mean,
And,
yeah. So, but who
yeah,
cares?
he don't care.
But if
Clearly, he don't care.
he doesn't care, and if I can get him on my team and win a championship, I don't care
Yeah,
either. I don't care.
Yeah. And the fan base won't care if you can help somebody win a. That's how fickle
Oh,
athletics is
if
today.
if he went to Milwaukee and they won a championship, the Milwaukee fans would love him. It's
Yeah,
just the facts.
yeah, yeah. Hey, but what I keep hearing is him going to Phoenix for Bradley Beal. And Paul, I want to ask you about Bradley Beal. Is he just a guy, obviously talented player? All these guys in the NBA, very talented player. But is he a guy that's just scored points in Washington? Because somebody's going to score points in Washington, when they lose games anyway. Or
Yeah,
is he
that's part.
really a difference maker?
I I'm thinking more along the lines that you just pointed out, Ricky, because when I look at what he's done when he's been healthy in Phoenix, not very impressive. He's a lot smaller than I thought, right? He's a little guy really for his position, and he's not making an impact with Phoenix as being their third guy. And so maybe he was that guy, because if you're playing on an NBA, if you're any NBA team is going to score, 90 to 110 points, right? So if you're on a bad team, someone has to score those points. Someone does because they're going to score. So, and that's why there's a lot of times when you're evaluating players, points are different. There's points that you get consistently in tough competition. There's points you get because somebody has to score and you're
Right,
luckily that guy. And then there's points you get at the end of a blowout game that don't matter. I
right,
remember a player when I played, he'd get, and he was a starter. And people think he was a really good player because his numbers proved it. But in a blowout, he would get 12 of his 22 points in the fourth quarter when they're down by 20.
right,
Those
right,
aren't real points.
right. That's just you just filling up the stat sheet and
Yeah, I mean, but evaluators have to realize that, you know.
yeah. Hey Mo, what do you think about the NBA going back to Paris? I mean, you actually played there and you coached over there.
Yeah,
Can, you- can
I
you hear
mean,
me, Mo?
yeah, the NBA is a worldwide game, and you have one of the best players and probably the future of the league in Wembyama, who is from France, and he's their homegrown. I mean, they've had Tony Parker, they've had good players in the past. Now there's more and more, French players that are having impact in the NBA, and it's a perfect spot, to be in Paris and showcase the league when you have a guy like Wembyama playing there. And Adam Silver has taken over, where the league has always been and expanding in other countries. Now, the talks of we're going to have an NBA team in Paris, that's not happening. He when they asked Adam that, he said, "Yeah, when we get supersonic travel." you know,
Get the old
but
supersonic
still,
back.
guess what? Well, guess what? Kids, fans do in France, Germany, Italy, Russia, wherever. They buy jerseys, they buy hats, they buy shirts, they buy everything. So, it was just a smart
Yeah.
move. I saw, both games a little bit. It's too bad though, because the first game, San Antonio blew out Indiana by like 30. And then 2 days later, the second game, Indiana blew out San Antonio by 30. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, and that's why those teams are not very, not doing damage, and I'm not expecting them to do anything in the playoffs. But that was a kind of a letdown. But the games were exciting, put on professionally. They had Oscar Robertson there, Tony Parker was there. Had a lot of basketball royalty there. So it's just a good thing, and the NBA does a great job at promoting the game.
Oh, no doubt about that. And Wimbiana being from there certainly doesn't help things. The NBA is the sport in Philippines. Wow, I did not know that. Even over soccer, Mike.
Oh,
Wow.
Philippines is crazy basketball, crazy. I coached a U.S. team in Taiwan, and we played the Japan national team, the Philippines team. And after the game against the Philippines, we couldn't get to our bus. There was thousands of Philippine people waiting for the
Wow.
team to come out, sign autographs. They we played in a 10,000 seat arena. They pretty much filled it with their fans. It was amazing.
Hey, hey, isn't that where your former teammate Alton Lister is?
Yeah,
Is that where he is? Philippines coaching?
yeah.
That's right.
Alton coached professionally there for a long time. He married a lady from there. He has a daughter there, and right now he's coaching at a university in the Philippines. He loves it.
Right.
Very
Yeah, we had a
inexpensive.
friend of the show. Friend of the show.
Yeah, very inexpensive to live there. He loves it.
Yeah, you're watching We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with Paul Mokeski. Mo, we got a lot of people tuned in. Send us your questions and comments about anything you might have going on. We talked about Mo's beloved Chiefs getting back into the Super Bowl. Again, and we'll get into that as that game gets closer. I think that's going to be a great matchup. The whole thing with Jimmy Butler, just it's really sad to me, Paul, because I really respected what he did as a player, the way he came out and carried his teams a few years ago. The guys, he's not the player he once was. The guys getting mad because they can't do the things that they used to do, or do they adjust their games to what they can't do?
Yeah, I mean, well,
A la Chris Paul.
the good ones do. The good
Yeah.
ones do. Michael Jordan came in the league as a driver, dunker, slasher. At the end of his career, he was playing in the middle of the triangle offense, posting up, shooting fadeaway jumpers, and scoring in the post as well as shooting threes. So, yeah, I mean, you adjust. Look at the biggest adjustment ever made, probably in the NBA. Listen to this: Brooke Lopez with the Milwaukee Bucks, when he was
Yeah.
playing on the East Coast, he was the ultimate low post scorer. Score with hooks, drop steps, left hand, right hand, always on the block, always posting up. And then he went to Milwaukee, and the game has changed where the 3 point line has come into play, even with 7 footers, as we see. So he adapted, and now I think he's shooting 38% from the three. And I thought I saw a stat the other day. He's the only one of the only players in the history 7 footer that has made over 1,000 threes and blocked 500 shots or something like that.
Wow.
But he adjusted his game.
Wow. I did not know that.
And you know who the other one
Yeah.
is? Here, let's play a game, Ricky. Who's the other one that's a 7 footer that made over 1,000 threes and blocked, I don't know, whatever the number is, 500, 1,000 shots in their career?
I, Dirk is Dirk a 7 footer?
Yeah, but
He wasn't that big a shot blocker though.
He didn't.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. He played at this team for a while in college. The Jayhawk.
I can't see the logo.
The Jayhawk.
Well, I know Wilt didn't shoot threes, so
No.
You can
I'll
always
let you off the
know.
hook. You'll never guess it. Rafe
Wait.
LaFrance. Rafe LaFrance.
No, I would never guess that.
Rafe LaFrance made
I
1,000
would have never
blocks,
never
1,000 whatever
guessed
shots.
that.
So yeah,
That-
but that's, talking about Lopez adjusting his game. And when you get older, when I got older, I played for 12 years in the NBA, but even though I got older and broken down with bad knees, I never got slower. I was always slow. So I didn't have to adjust my game. I played the same way. But guys that play
Now-
differently, they have to adjust their game.
And this goes up. I just want to throw this up here. We were talking about the Philippine leagues, and Mike is saying all the corporations have basketball leagues over there. Uh,
But
but
it,
Bo, I'm
it,
not
it,
gonna let you sell yourself short talking about how slow you were and all that, because folks, Paul Mokeski was one of the great athletes to come out of California. I got proof actually that I'm looking right at it right now. Well, this was a piece in the Los Angeles Times talking about the greatest all-star team in high school basketball history, and you are part of that team. Uh, Reggie Theus, James Hardy, David Greenwood, Bill Laimbeer, Paul Mokeski. How about that for a front line? Let's just put them three out there on the front line with Reggie in the backcourt. Brad Holland, Roy Hamilton, Roy running the point, uh, Mitch Branton, and Neil Arnold and Bob Losner. The Los Angeles Times said that is the greatest high school all-star team in one class in basketball history. And it's funny, Bo, because you and I have talked off the air about that as you were going through your recruiting days and how you nearly signed at UCLA. Talk
yeah, I
about
mean,
that and about this team and about that time. This is the class of 75.
yeah,
According to the Los Angeles Times, the greatest high school basketball all-star team class in the history of the game.
yeah. 50 years ago. Oh my goodness, 50 years ago, and
Dang.
I can remember it. We played one game at the LA Sports Arena. Then we went and get this. So you just named the team. So it was uh, me, Lampier, David Greenwood, Reggie Theus, and Roy Hamilton. That was the starters, and James Hardy and Brad Holland, who played for the Lakers, came off the bench. It was seven, and we played a game against the USA basketball All Stars. Came in and played us in LA, and we beat them by 30, I think. And then we went up to San Francisco. So guess who played in San Francisco at that time in high school?
Who?
Bill Cartwright.
Big Bill from the Chicago Bulls. I was about to say that.
Bill Cartwright
He
played up in
was
San
dominant.
Francisco. So guess what? He joined our team. That was our team. Bill Cartwright, Bill Laimbeer, David Greenwood, myself, Reggie Theus, Brad Holland, uh, Roy Hamilton, David Greenwood. That was our team. I
That is
mean,
incredible.
we had many of, adding, many of pickup games where we would meet at UCLA at Pauley Pavilion on Sunday afternoon, and all these guys would show up with Lakers and Clippers and Bruins, and it was just basketball haven. And every
And Wilt would show up too, wouldn't he?
yeah, Will would play at Pepperdine on Tuesday nights to stay in shape. But every college and every coach was living in Southern California for a month, recruiting all of us. And I had a friend who played football. He was recruited by USC football as a linebacker, and he ended up playing guard at Duke. He was recruited by Duke, and he went to play at Duke. That was before Duke really hit the big time. But there was just we go to a gym, pickup gym, and there's 30 Division I college coaches in the gym on a Wednesday night somewhere Granada Hills in the San Fernando Valley, and it was just great basketball. The UCLA part was I grew up in Southern California. I was a Laker fan and I was a UCLA fan because guess who played there? Someone named Lou Alcindor, later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then someone named Bill Walton. May he rest in peace. And I watched them play since I was in grade school, and I wanted to be like Bill Walton. And I was recruited by every school, including UCLA. And I probably would have ended up at UCLA, but it was the year that John Wooden, the great, great, great John Wooden, retired that year. So I think Coach Foster took over, but they came in my living room, sat down, gave me an offer, a letter of intent to go to UCLA, and I had it in my hand. And I'm telling you, if John Wooden was in my living room talking to me and my parents, I would have signed that piece of paper because he was just such an impact. But you know, fate works how it's supposed to. Ended up going to Kansas, met my wife there, met many friends there. So, but yeah, I was recruited by 200 schools, whatever, and UCLA was right there.
And Mo was a very athletic center at that time, blocking shots, running the floor, handling the ball. Uh,
Shoot, Ricky,
and, and
I was 7 foot. I weighed all of 215 pounds, man. I better be
yeah,
athletic.
but Mo, even when you play, you could see it in your game because you would pop out and shoot that mid range just as well as a guard would shoot it. I know you have to lick your chops. Wondering, damn, if I was in this league today, I'd just back up a couple of more feet
Oh, easy.
and make a good living.
I mean, back then nobody shot threes. Larry Bird shot maybe 4 or 5 a game. That's all.
Right,
But I remember,
right.
like when I got to Milwaukee, I had Jack Sigma there, and Bill Laimbeer was in Detroit. We were 7 footers shooting threes. At the first month of that season, we were the best 3-point shooters in the league at that point. But we were allowed to shoot threes, but still, that was only 1 or 2 a game. But in today's game, Ricky, I would be killing it because you know what
No
I could
doubt,
do?
Mo.
I could be physical, I could defend, I could rebound, I could block shots, and I could shoot the ball. And I was a great teammate. I
Hey,
mean,
hey,
I'll tell you, so if you go look at film of me in Cleveland with the Cavaliers playing with Mark Price. We pick and popped guys like Cartwright and Ewing, and all those guys. We pick and pop them to death.
hey, Mo. Going back to that team, that All Star team had 8 players that played in the NBA. Could you see that being around those guys? Could you see Reggie Theus becoming such a? You could see the skill in all of those guys that made them NBA players, even at that age.
Yeah, we played in there wasn't really AAU back then, Ricky. So, we played in summer leagues. We played the NBA had a Los Angeles NBA summer league. We played at Cal State LA. That's where we played, downtown Los Angeles. And the NBA teams would play in the evening. The Lakers, the Clippers, all those guys would play. And it wasn't for young players, it was for the older players to play because there wasn't pickup games all over like they have now. There wasn't training like they have right now. So I saw Paul Westphal, I saw Jamal Wilkes, I saw all these guys playing that summer league, but they also started, it was called the Junior Olympic Summer League. And that was us high school players playing before those games at Cal State LA. So I played against Theus and Lampier and Greenwood, and we all played on different teams in that summer league. And then we would stay around after our games. We would play at 2 in the afternoon and 4 in the afternoon. And then we would just stay around because after we played and we turned in our uniform, we got a free hot dog, and a Coke. And we would get that and we'd go in the stands and we would watch Paul Westphal, Jamal Wilkes, all these guys play. We were in the stands. It was awesome.
Wait a minute, you didn't get any sneakers, man?
No, we didn't
Nobody.
get sneakers, short. We had to turn in our uniforms. We didn't get no NIL. What we did is we had love for the game. Love for the game. That's
Not
what we
for the
had.
game. No, no doubt. Hey, you mentioned somebody, Bo, that I think is really underrated. And I used to say this dude's a mini Pete Maravich. Paul Westphal, not many in size, but in his creativity. He left hand, right hand. Tell our viewers out there about Paul Westphal. And the beauty of it, you can go look these guys up on YouTube and see just some gifted players that just don't get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah, Paul Westphal was Dan Marley before Dan Marley. Very athletic, very skilled. He grew up in California. His brother coached at Occidental University. That's where we played pickup. I played pickup against him there. And he went. Paul Westphal went to USC and played against the great Bruin teams, and then had a great career in the NBA. But I remember, I'll tell you, eating my hot dog and drinking my Coke, watching in this gym in Cal State, LA. I saw Paul Westphal go on a break, and he got caught up. He got caught in the air. Someone cut him off, and in midair, he stopped and turned around and spun the opposite way and finished with his left
Oh,
hand. Everyone stopped. He stopped in midair. He was spinning left to right, and he stopped and went back right to left and finished with his left hand. He was just amazing, and then he ran down the court and continued to play. He didn't scream. He didn't go, "Let's go." He didn't do any of that stuff.
right. Just a fun. That reminds. I had the pleasure of covering Barry Sanders throughout his brilliant career, and Mo, he would make some runs that were just mind-boggling, and he just get up, toss the ball to the ref, go back to the huddle.
How about Gale Sayers? Sayers?
Yeah, just hey.
You know what happens, Ricky, too, is I played with and against some great players like Sidney Moncrief and Marcus Johnson, and, against Dominique Wilkins and MJ but the thing is, when you see these guys do that stuff every day, there was no load management. They played every day and did that stuff every game. And sometimes as a teammate or an opponent, I kind of caught myself taking it for granted. And we should never do that. You see guys, Steph Curry and the Joker and all these guys doing that stuff, but you see it so often, you take it for granted. Don't do that. I remember coaching for the Dallas Mavericks, Dirk Nowitzki. I watched him practice every day and games every day, and I remember thinking, I'm gonna sear this in my brain and watch this stuff he's doing. I'm not taking it for granted.
Yeah. Well, that's the love for the game, Paul. But Mo, tell me this: are you concerned that some people are being turned off by the way, number one, the game is played today? And then when you hear stories like this with Jimmy Butler, which are headlines overshadowing the actual games, that does not help. Now, of course, it hurts the Heat, but it doesn't help the league.
Yeah, that's what's sad. I think I don't know if Charles Barkley or somebody said it on TV the other night that he wasn't sad for Miami Heat. He wasn't sad for Jimmy Butler. He was sad for the game. He was sad for
Yeah,
the NBA because it's a brotherhood. There's less than 5,000 of us that ever played in the league for over a year. That's all. And we
yeah,
loved the game and loved it our whole life, even as kids growing up. And when things like this pop up and it gets so much attention, it's like in real life, right? The front page of the newspaper is something traumatic. People die in a fire, or sad stuff, or some guy robs a bank and kills five. Whatever it is, it's all bad stuff. And then in the back of the pages is a nurse volunteering her room in her house for a patient that couldn't afford to go somewhere. Those
yeah,
stories are in the back, and the grand bad stories are in the front. I always thought that was wrong. And unfortunately, Jimmy Butler's story is now everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere until the trade deadline in a week or so. And to me, that's sad. That's sad.
eh,
And if you really were looking to find your love of the game, Jimmy Butler, you wouldn't act like this. Your love
yeah.
for the game would override you walking out of practice. Your love for
Well,
the game would override you saying in public how you don't want to be in Miami. Your love for the game would override all that stuff. Now it's just being selfish. And your love for guess who? Yourself.
yeah, Mo, brother, that is well said, right there. And Paul, not only that, it puts a cloud on the league, and it's a league where 98 percent of these guys are out there doing great things in the communities that they play on. They're not looking for headlines or anything like that. They're just trying to give back. And he's forcing for all of those guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So
you just
yeah,
gotta take it with a grain of salt. Well, it is what it is. And I understand to a point. You got to take it is a business. You got to take care of your family. You remember there's an old football movie called North Dallas 40. You probably
yeah,
saw it. So
yeah,
it's about a team that's in the playoffs, and then it's really a good movie. And at one part of the
yeah,
movie, when they lose the biggest game of the season, one of the football players is all upset, and one of the older coaches comes in and says, something like, "You guys don't have any heart. You guys blah 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 blah." And the football player goes crazy and says, "Here's the problem, coach. When you call a game, we call it a business. And when you call it a business, we call it a game." It's like, but it's a business. But come on, man. You're making over $50 million a year living in a mansion in Miami. I
yeah,
think you've taken care of your family. Okay. I think they're
yeah,
taking care of them. let's,
yeah.
let's do something the right way. And this just isn't the right way.
Hey Mo, we got just a few more minutes left. Uh, let's talk a little bit of where we are in the season coming up. Trade deadlines right around the corner. Cleveland continues to set the pace in the East at 37-9. Uh, up 5 games on Boston at 32-14, and so Cleveland and Boston are going to be 1-2. The Knicks and Milwaukee is only 2 games out of the 2 spot, and 4 games out of the behind Boston for the 2nd spot.
Yeah. I mean,
Do those seedings even matter, Paul?
I think not really. You want to get in the top four to have home court in the first round. And if you get the top seed, you get the home court the rest of the way. That's important. And you don't want to be the fourth team or the fifth team playing each other. That's the hardest first round. But other than yeah, it is important. But here's the thing: Cleveland has lost 5 out of their last 8 games. And so they're starting to hit the wall before the All-Star break. We talk about that all the time. And they've never been front runner like this before. I think they'll be okay. Part of that is Mobley been injured. And as we know, Ricky, availability is the biggest ability in the NBA. And Mobley's been out. So I think they'll recover from that. But it's not a two-team race anymore. It's not Boston and the Cavs. It's Boston, Cavs, Milwaukee, New York. That's who it is now.
Yeah. Hey, let's go to the West. And before we talk about Oklahoma City, we were talking about as players age out, and Jimmy Butler is not the player he once was. LeBron James is not the player he once was, Mo. But I mean,
Oh, really? What's
what do you say about that?
I mean, I thought I saw him just get a triple double the other day, so maybe he is.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I know.
I mean, he's part freak, and he's part competitor, and he's part dedication. He spends over $1 million a year on his health, his nutrition, strength and conditioning, stretching, massages, ice baths, and that in today's game is important. Like I tell a lot of players, when I'm coaching them, what are you willing to do to win for this team? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to come to practice, an hour early and work on your free throws? You're willing to stay an hour late and work on your defense? What are you willing to do? Well, what is LeBron willing to do to stay at his tip-top condition and play like he is? He does all of that. So my question to the rest of the league, what are you willing to do? He's 40 years old and he's still owning you guys in games a lot of the time. So, let's see some of the other players step up and continue on with his model of what he's presented to you. And just,
I know you of course you and Steve Kerr are good buddies, and you got a chance to watch the Dream Team practice before the Olympics. I was surprised to hear you tell me LeBron was setting the pace for the whole dream team at practice. We're talking about practice, Mo.
Yeah, we're not talking about scrimmage. We're talking about shooting drills, defensive rotation drills, take charge drills, 3-on-2, 2-on-1, get back and defend drills. Every drill, he had the most energy, he had the most commitment, and he was, I don't know, 5 to 10 years older than all the other guys. So, we talk about the it factor at the beginning of the show. Well, guess what? He has it, you know. And hey,
Yeah.
Ricky, you know that article that I sent you about the 75 All-Star game?
Yeah.
You know who sent that to me?
Who?
Steve Kerr. Because he grew up in Pacific Palisades. That's where he grew up. So he was probably in 8th or 9th grade that year.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was probably behind us a little bit at class
He's
75.
4 years
Yeah,
behind me. Yeah.
yeah. Steve Kerr, great coach. Hey, one of these days we got to get him on the show during the off season, Mo.
Yep.
Hey, let's talk about the West right quick before we get out of here. OKC, baby, 37-8, and comfortably ahead of the Rockets and Memphis Grizzlies by 6.5 games.
Yeah.
They are going to be the number one seed, barred major injuries.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Memphis was the number 1 seed a couple of years ago and got knocked off in the first round because guess who else is there? Denver, Dallas, Lakers. They're all there waiting, and so I still think if Luka and Kyrie can get healthy, that the Dallas is a legit threat. Lakers are always a threat. I think they're going to make a little move here before the draft deadline and get another player. I don't think it's Jimmy Butler, but it could be somebody. So we'll see. Memphis is a lot better than I thought. Houston has a lot of they have that toughness factor. I like that. I don't know if they have the offense to be able to hang with some of these other teams, but OKC is doing this without one of their best players, Chet Holmgren, who's out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He might not come back he's got a hip injury. That's not like a knee or an ankle or a shoulder. The hip injury is different. So, but with Harkenstein, this is where NBA front office makes their money. So, OKC went out and got Harkenstein, signed him as a free agent from the New York Knicks, big 7-footer, rebounds, block shots, physical. They went out, got him this summer, and guess when it pays off? Ding, 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 ding. Right.
Mo and Mo, I'm gonna go find the tape because you called that. You called that on this show. And another guy, before we get out of here, I just love him, is Big Zach Edey. You called that when people said he might not get drafted. I'm like, did you see the dunk he had on Wimbiana the other day?
Here, Ricky, handle this, right? Write this down. The biggest deal in the NBA right now, trade deadline, is Giannis Valanciunas, the 7-footer who's playing with Washington. He's 32 years old. He's averaging 12 points and 8 rebounds, but he's capable of doing 16 and 10. He's a big physical body. He's only making for the NBA. He's only making $9 million, and he's getting 2 more years left at $10 million each. That's like a steal in the NBA for a guy like him. And if I'm an NBA team that needs a big, I'm going to get him with a 2 second-round picks, whatever, a late first round. I'm going to get that guy. Knows how to win. Won a championship with Toronto. Golden State needs to go get him. I don't know why they're not. But other teams, even the Lakers, should go get him and let AD play 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
Mo,
the guy.
we got to get out of here. We reached the witcher now. Man, Mo, thank you so much, man. I love doing this show with you. Thank you to all our viewers out there. We appreciate you guys every week. I see all of you out there watching. Send us your questions and comments. Yep. We appreciate you just being out there watching, but we'd love to hear from you also.
Subscribe.
And
push that subscribe button.
And don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. For Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. See you next Monday. Peace, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.